So the thing I think we have to start with is you seeing Jack White, especially after you talked about his tour and how he's doing the tour. So he's
Hmm.
still just driving around, right?
Yeah. Yeah. They played Minneapolis Wednesday and then got up Thursday, drove to Madison, Wisconsin. Tonight they're in Milwaukee. And tomorrow they're doing a club tonight and a different one tomorrow in Milwaukee, 2 nights. Yeah, so Patrick Keeler, who's drumming on this tour, called me. They drove up from Nashville the day before. It was like a 900-mile drive in the van to get here to play the show. They're just doing it, having fun, pulling over for when they want to, and it's really cool. But the show itself was extraordinary. I mean, they came out for 90 minutes with a little break, and just the intensity level, like you don't need more. Like it was like, okay, I can't take any more of this. It's like they just come out and just boom from the first downbeat. It's just it's really like a call to arms almost. It just feels like that in the room, and they just blasted through, and the place was going crazy, and it was truly pretty staggering.
I saw the teeny little snippet you posted on Insta
Hmm.
stories, and I was like, wow. It was an unusual stage setup too, right? The drums were off
Hmm.
to one side.
Yeah, drums are set up stage right, and then the bass player stands kind of behind Jack, and then stage left is a guy playing an organ, and they just come out and they killed it. It was really really great. I mean, it's definitely one of those things. I guess for Jack at this point, it's kind of like, let me go way back to the basics and just remind everybody that I do this thing that not a whole lot of people can do, and it was great.
Have we heard, like, the inspiration for this? Like, did he just been like, watch Green Book and go, "We should try that"? Because it sounds
They,
so classic Americana, like, hop in the car and drive across country, you know?
Patrick told me they were just in the studio last year working on songs, and they were talking about touring and what's tough about touring now and what's cool about touring, and just in a very general conversation. And it just sort of popped up like, man, let's just get in the van and show up and play. Like it was just like someone says that, and then suddenly it's like, yeah, we could probably actually do that. I mean, they're announcing the shows the day before,
Mhm.
and then they just turn up, and if you're in the Jack White, I guess the fan club or whatever it's called, if you're signed up on his website, you have a better chance of getting tickets than if you don't. There's nothing on the second market. Like if you were trying to find a ticket that afternoon, you couldn't. It was just done deal.
They came out here and they played one night in Petaluma and one night at the Great American in San Francisco, and I
Oh,
had
nice.
0 chance of getting tickets.
Yeah,
I didn't even try. I mean, I probably
yeah,
could have, like, been, like, calling around to, like, people I know in box offices and seeing if I could get, like, some club kind of, like, help, but I
yeah. No,
no.
it's definitely it helps to know the guys.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
like, yeah,
fair.
that's
Also, it
tough.
seems like it's all independent venues so far, right? I haven't seen any I haven't paid too close of attention, but when they played here, they played
Yeah,
venues
it
that were
seems.
definitely not owned by corporate Live Nation or
Oh
AEG,
yeah,
Golden
no,
Voice.
no, they're playing like some hole. There's some holes in the wall or hole in the walls. What's holes in the wall?
Holes in the Wall,
There's
I
some
think.
there's some small spots for sure. It was
Nice.
great. It was awesome.
I kinda hope this becomes a trend. I think it would be kind of awesome, like, not just to be able to kind of catch a band you absolutely love, but also to quite possibly run into that band at a tourist stop in the middle of
Hmm.
nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, they're just pulling into truck stops and hanging out and hopping out of the van, and it's funny because Jack does most of the driving. That's just the funniest part to me. He's just like, yeah, I got this. They're all having a good time, listening to music, listening to podcasts on the road. Kind of nice.
Yeah, I think we've all forgotten how life could be simple at one point. I think we're just too busy,
Hmm.
entirely
Yeah,
too busy, which is
that's the
probably
thing I
why
took.
you and I haven't talked for 2 weeks,
That's
right?
yeah, that's what I was thinking about it during the show. It was very much like this is 90 minutes where nothing else matters. For everybody that was in that room, it was just like, I'm going to come down, I'm going to hit this stage, and I'm going to just give you a 90-minute break from how full of shit the whole world seems to be these days. That's what it was. It felt like everybody was really really, it was a very intensely present audience.
I have been complaining nonstop. You haven't been hearing it, but I have just been like, social media is killing me. And everybody,
Hmm.
and it's weird. It's this dichotomy of like, I'm exhausted by it, but also when I run into people in real life, they're like, hey, I'm loving your socials because it's how I keep up with you. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm less and less and less engaged. I mean,
Mhm.
I just we were talking about it a couple weeks ago on the morning show, and I said I should just get Twitter off my phone, and then I did. I just deleted it from my phone, and it's like, oh, that's so nice. I'll get on. I watch. I still use it really just when I'm watching sports.
I was just
I
going to say, how do
follow
you watch
along.
soccer games?
No, I follow along on Twitter to just interact with other people watching the games. That's still fun, but for the rest of it, for the most part, it's just like, yeah, I'm done. I've had enough.
I'm with you on that. It's all I can do just to stay engaged with the handful of things that I'm already doing. And
And
eh,
I mean, not stunned, I guess, but I mean, also today, looking at Twitter a few hours ago, and the news that Phil Lesh died, I was like, whoa. This is one of those things where I'm not even. I've never. I like the Grateful Dead. Yes, I saw them. I enjoyed the shows. I know their music. I enjoy some of it. I've never been a Deadhead. I've never been tried. I've never been confused for being a Deadhead. But
me neither.
complete respect for how they did what they did. And Phil Lesh, such a unicorn bassist. I mean, like no one liked that guy. I 100% feel for everyone I know who's really impacted by this. I mean, it's a true loss to countless music fans around the world right now, and especially, my God, in the Bay Area. It's like, man, that's one of the titans right there. That's a big one.
You're gonna make me cry.
Yeah, it's like that's 6 decades, just short of 6 decades of a whole lot of people really caring about what that guy was doing on that bass, and
I
him
mean,
just giving and giving and giving all that.
for me, obviously, it's not the music
Yeah.
at all. But he it's the same day we lost Bill Graham today,
Hmm.
and I worked so many shows with him. And so there were just nonstop, like Phil Lesh and Friends at the Warfield, over and over and over, especially when I was full time in concerts. And just Phil and Jill and the family and the band and the crew.
Yep.
And we've kind of been losing people from that crew over the years. And I think Kathy Sunderland was probably the first one that really hit hard. And now to have Phil gone is like, oh,
I
it's tough.
I didn't I did not put it together. I mean, I'm sure I knew in the past. I know when I think of Bill Graham's death, I think of it being this time of year, but I didn't realize it was October 25th. Wow.
Yeah, I don't either because I was out of the country when it happened. It was the first time I'd ever been out of the country, and so I had to
Mm.
watch the whole thing on MTV Europe, which was weird. But
Brand new, and yeah.
yeah, yeah, I'm in Germany, and MTV Europe is showing, the concert in Golden Gate Park and everything, and I'm like, I really should be there, but I wasn't because I was,
Man, yeah.
yeah, but it's
I say we, the Black Crowes had just finished the first album tour. Like we flew. I remember getting back to Atlanta. What's today? The 25th. It was probably the 20th when we got home after 20 months of like nonstop.
mm.
So the first album cycle, it was over, and we were all pretty ajar. We were just kind of like, what now? Like we had just been on this hamster wheel and um, we had done some gigs in the spring of '91. We did a few gigs in the Bay Area, the surrounding areas that Bill Graham Presents did. And he gave us these bathrobes, like Black Crow's cool terry cloth bathrobes that said Bill Graham Presents, and with special guest Jellyfish. It was a whole thing. And I wore that robe until it quite literally just disintegrated. I mean, 25 years at least. That was my bathrobe. And I remember hearing that news and just being like, wait a minute, this isn't adding up. This doesn't make sense. But I didn't realize it was the same day. I'm sure there's plenty of people in the Grateful Dead world who feel somehow that that's an okay thing. They were so connected, those two, the
I mean,
Dead and Bill Graham.
it kind of gave me a little bit of a extra in the feels, from I mean, I parked cars at Shoreline Amphitheater in 1989 when I was a kid because I was such a Bill
Oh
Graham fan.
wow. Yeah.
And then, in the early 90s, I was just out of high school and trying to figure out what to do, and I couldn't get a job again
Hmm.
with Bill Graham Presents. It took me, like, till 1999 to get a job with Bill Graham Presents again, and obviously he wasn't with the company anymore, but it was still
Right.
BGP.
Yeah.
And, and then, like I said, I spent so much time working all the Dead shows, wearing a Slayer t-shirt so that
Sure. Well, yeah.
so the
You
hippies
got to
wouldn't ask me
represent.
for stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Slayer repels hippies, and,
Hmm.
of course, because I also didn't want to go out in the crowd, I would just be buried backstage being like, "Can I help you with anything? Is there anything I can get you guys? How are we doing?"
Yeah.
I'm, like, literally babysitting the kids, and then a few years later, I'm making sure the kids stay out of the Red Bulls, and then a few years later, it's like, "Oh my god, the kids are adults now," and then a few years after that, the kids turned up and they're, like, managing bands, and I'm like, "What
Yeah.
is happening right now?" I feel like I just have, like, a quarter century with that man and his extended,
Yeah.
family and crew, and it's just been rough today, just even, like,
Hmm.
talking about it. I got a little choked up on the air doing a little tribute from it being the same day
Sure.
and stuff, and I don't know if you and Chris were even, talking at the time, but he did a ton of Phil Lesh and Friends shows at the Warfield. Like, that's
Oh
kinda
yeah.
how I got to know him back when he and
Yeah.
Kate were together.
Yep. And then after the Black Crows got back together in '05, he still did a few runs. He was still very much a part of that world.
It's like a titan of industry passing
Hmm.
on, you know? I mean, the
Yeah, for
Grateful
sure.
Dead from the '60s to now to '20s, it's like,
Yep.
and I can't remember the last show Phil would have played, but it would have
I
been
think it's
not that
been I
long
think
ago.
it's been a couple years at least. I want to say it's a couple years. I mean, '84 is a great run no matter how you live your life, and for the life he lived for a long time, it's almost like you could say, "Hey man, that was a lot of borrowed time."
Yeah, and
So
he was having back problems almost the whole
mhm.
last 20 years too, and
Yeah.
still just managing to get out there and play.
Yep.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Well, shit on that note.
Hey, kind of a
Uh,
drag.
I know, I'm sorry. I should think of something cheerier to end with.
Oh,
How
wait,
about how about
we
them
haven't talked about your
Niners?
Niners. Yeah, we need
Long as
let's
kick
pick it
me
up.
while I'm down, Steve. Come on.
I told you ahead of time. I texted you last week. I said, "Don't sweat it. The Chiefs are going to win." Sorry. Um,
And you were right.
listen. This is a great franchise. They have a great coach. They've got a lot of the pieces. We're gonna look back one day and say this was a necessary reset, reboot, whatever. I will say this: they're still okay, but they sure as hell better win this weekend.
I literally
This is a literal must win game. If they're going to put it together and make a run in the playoffs, they have to start this Sunday with a win. No two
they
ways about it.
they 100% have to be halfway through the season at a 500
Yeah,
record
have to,
because
have to, have to.
I don't think there's a real I think that we've already are worried about a realistic path to the playoffs, but I think we almost entirely lose the mathematical likelihood of a
Well,
path to
and
the
it got
playoffs.
much dicier last night because suddenly the Rams are healthy again, and they haven't
What?
been. And the
Uh,
Rams they looked great last night. I mean, Minnesota was on short week and you got to travel. I think the Rams had it, but they're all healthy for the first time this year, healthier than they've been, and the Rams are still the Rams. The record doesn't show it, but now it's about to turn, I think, and so they're about to get it to if they stay healthy. Obviously, the Niners' biggest problem is their health right now too. So you just got to
so many
see.
people are out. It's
Yeah.
crazy. And I
Yep.
think I think we I think we need it for morale in the locker room as much as we need it for morale in the stands, as much as we need it for
Hmm.
an actual path to the playoffs.
Yeah, it's been but it is it's just such a they're one of the few clubs in the league that has such a high standard regardless. And you know, most of the fans of this league look at the Niners having a scary year and go, "Yeah, I would take it." Like it's like, "Yeah, you guys are freaking out because you're not great." Oh, gee. Cry me a river. Most fan bases would give anything to be looking at this Niners team, thinking we got to get it together.
Okay. I mean, I'm trying so hard not to make a Raiders joke right now, but it's
Oh,
just right there.
please. Well, that you know what? They're past the point where you even have to. It's like it's just it's they're not relevant enough to joke about. That's the tragedy of that whole thing. It's like, man, that is over.
I mean, Tom Brady walked in as an owner, and people aren't even talking about it 2 weeks later. Everybody's like,
No. If it
that
was going to be like if they're going to work a heaven can wait angle where the owner's suddenly actually the quarterback, I'll pay attention. If he wants to Warren Beatty his ass down onto the field and get back on, in the huddle, that'll be something. That'd be a story.
for anyone under 50, you're going to have to Google the
Uh,
movie Heaven Can Wait.
I tell you what, there's a lot of movies from the 70s that you can say don't hold up. That one is still just aces, man, start to finish.
Wow. Well, my favorite thing happened last week, and I don't even know if I can show it to you because of the through the screen, but I'm gonna try
Mm-hmm.
because it's kind of my favorite thing ever at this point. Yeah, here it is. I saw Tom Brady on the field. That's Tom up there in the corner,
Okay.
and
Like it?
I just yelled at him.
Nice.
Yeah. I was like,
Yeah.
anything more than that, I'll probably like lose my credential, but I figured I could get away with that.
You can get away with that one. That's a
Yeah.
good one.
Because that tuck rule thing is never gonna go away in my head. Ever,
No,
ever,
I
ever.
can see that. I knew what you were referencing.
Right?
Yeah.
So many people were like, "Ah, yes!" Like, I feel like Gen Z doesn't know enough yet, and we have to kinda, like, bring
Hey
some of
man,
these things up again.
look, I grew up a Michigan fan for college football. Michigan family. I was born there. I left when I was a baby, but or a toddler. But that was the team we always cheered for. I'm still pissed off about the 1979 season, the 1979 Rose Bowl, where Charles White of USC fumbled the ball on the 3 yard line and dove in, and they gave him the touchdown anyway. I mean, I'm still angry about it. So
Fair.
the tuck rule's like a week ago. You know what I mean?
It's fresh in your mind.
Yeah, it's like, come on, that just happened.
We're old.
Yeah. If you Google Charles White and then the letter P, it immediately pumps up phantom touchdown. It will auto fill in Charles White phantom touchdown because that's
Oh,
what it was.
it's your immaculate reception.
Mm-hmm.
I got it.
Oof. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. We remember that one.
I remember that in real time.
Do you?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
not me. I was a little too young. I remember it on NFL Films, though.
Sure. Yeah.
Whatever happened to the NFL Films guy? That voice was epic.
John Facenda. That was his name.
Oh,
Incredible.
I wanted him on my voicemail. He was so cool. They faced
Yeah, that would
certain
be
adversity on the frozen tundra of
that'd
Lambeau.
be pretty good. And we've come to the end of this and we didn't even mention that the Dodgers are in the World Series. So we're doing great.
The what?
See?
Huh?
It doesn't even happen. Doesn't matter.
It's not even the
Com-
baseball's
com-
over.
completely irrelevant.
Yeah, the Giants were mathematically eliminated like 3.5 weeks ago. So baseball season ended, and it was like,
No, it's done. I hear you.
oh, New York, New York.
Mm.
Okay. Yeah. So on that note, we out.